All right, welcome back everybody. We've got the front bearing, the back bearing, we have the outside panel done, we have the two wheel covers done. Now we need to do the inside panel, and that's this piece of plywood on the inside here. It's very similar to the outside panel, except instead of having a front bearing, it has a motor mount here instead. And there's 3 holes for the motor mount, 2 holes for screws to hold the motor in place, and the third motor you can see, or the third hole lets the axle spin through it. All right, so let's get ready to rock and roll. So to do this, I'm gonna rotate my model around so I can see the other side of my model, and I'm gonna create a sketch. Now this is important to get in the right place. We're gonna create this sketch, I'm gonna zoom in here on this back one, on this face here, this sort of rainbowy shape here. Anywhere inside here you can click to create a sketch, right there. Now, if you notice when I tip it, tip yours as well, my sketch, when I get that here, my sketch is right there on the surface of this one. So it's right where it's supposed to be. If you click it, if your sketch is in the wrong place, if it's like too low, you can see right where it is. If it's too low or too high, just Control Z until the sketch down here at the bottom disappears and create that sketch over again. Make sure this sketch is in the right place. It'll make everything else easier in a second. All right. So I'm going to click, whoops, not to home view. I'm going to click around back to the side view here. And then if I click on the word left up on my view cube, it'll square me up to my drawing. Now right now I don't have any shapes on my drawing. If I turn off all the bodies, I only have the shape of the one thing I clicked on. I don't have the other background or anything else on there. So the first thing I'm going to do is fix that problem. So I'm going to turn the outside panel back on. And I'm going to use the P for project tool. So P, this time instead of doing an entity, I'm going to do the entire body because I want to have the entire body of this panel on the other side. So I'm going to click here for entire body, and I'm going to click OK. And you can see what it did when I tip it, is it took the shape of that body below and it drew it for me on my sketch in front of the body. So I'm going to click back to the left view so we can get squared up again. And we're going to just turn off that outside panel again so we can see what's going on a little easier. All right. Now remember before we said we're not going to need the bearing stuff here. So when we extrude this, we're going to actually extrude it and fill up all of these holes when we do that. Let's go ahead and extrude now, actually. Let's hit E for extrude. And I'm going to click in the middle of all this big stuff. I also want to have this. I will need the bearing hole and the 3 screw holes in the back, so I'll leave those alone. But I'm going to get rid of these, so I'm going to go ahead and just fill them in as I extrude with material. All right, so I'm going to click over to the side a little bit, and I'm going to pull this out. And instead of trying to remember what the thickness of the material was, I'm just going to type in TH, and because we made that parameter earlier, I can do TH enter, and then one more enter will, actually, let's turn the bodies back on real quick. I want to make sure I'm not going back into a body, but I'm coming out from the body. So I'm going to turn it around to the front view like this, and notice here that I'm going this way and not the other way. If I was going the wrong way, I would put a negative in front of thickness, and now you can see now I am going the wrong way. I'm going and cutting into the wheel well. Instead, I wanted mine to be positive. Depending on how Fusion guesses which way you want to go, you may need to have yours negative. And here, instead of join, I want to say new body and click OK. Awesome. That's the inside panel. We still need to cut the holes for the motor here, but we've got a really good start to a solid panel. I'm going to hit A for appearance and just throw on a piece of the walnut that I had earlier on there so it looks the same. Awesome. That's that panel. Looking great. I'm going to go ahead and turn off, ooh, look, I have all these bodies. Let's start naming these bodies. So if I click on this body and double click on it, I can see this is the wheel. So this is the back wheel cover. And instead of back, I'm actually going to just do B. And I misspelled wheel. Perfect. And then enter. And then body 5, yep, that was the front wheel cover. So I'm going to do F wheel cover, enter, and then body 6, this is that inside panel, so inside panel. Keeping our bodies well organized and named will make our lives easier later when we go to try and find things. Inside panel, enter. Awesome. So I tip it this way, you can see, ooh, wow, we're making such good progress. Look how good that looks. Nice. I'm going to come back to the inside panel, this inside view here. I'm going to create a sketch on it because we're going to cut those holes. So I'm going to stay away from these orange rectangles here and stay on this panel right there. And now I'm going to create the hole for the axle right here. So the axle is going to go right down this middle point here. So I'm going to click here and do 9 millimeters. That's the size of the axle hole. Hit enter. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And then I'm going to create another hole over here to the side. And I'm going to call this one 4.5. That's the screw hole. Doesn't really matter where I put it. I'm going to size it up in a second. Enter. And then I'm going to do another circle. And this one I'm going to put up on the weird spot up here and do 4.5 just to show you how to line stuff up. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a construction line and I'm going to connect the middle of this hole here with the middle of this one right there. And notice I'm hit escape to leave the line tool. Notice because I put this one up here all wonky, it's all like high like this. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use the coincidence tool to line up this circle, the middle of this circle. So they click on the center of this circle and this line. And now they're lined up. They're all on the same line now. Except this line is at a really wonky angle. So I'm going to come over here and hit the vertical horizontal tool, click on the line, and that will snap it horizontally. We're making such good progress here. Now what I need to do is space these holes out. In between each of these holes is a distance of 12.5 millimeters. So I'm going to do D for dimensioning. And I'm actually going to hide all the other bodies. Okay, and this way I can see what I'm doing a little better without that dark background. So I've got a 9 millimeter hole, two 4.5 millimeter holes. Both these holes are lined up with the middle one on this dashed construction line. So I'm going to click on the middle of this circle and the middle of this circle, come down a little bit, and then click one more time to place the measurement. And this should be 12.5, enter. Notice that when I put this in is that this one turned black now, which means it's fully constrained, it's fully held in place. Same thing for the next one. Middle of this hole, middle of this hole. I'm going to come down here and type in 12.5, enter. Now those are in just the right place. Next thing I want to do is I want to extrude this. Before I can do that, I've got to turn the inside panel back on so I can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to hit E for extrude. I'm going to tip my drawing a little bit so I can see what's going on. And then click on my 3 holes. Whoops, clicked on the wrong thing. There it is. So click slowly. It lets you make fewer mistakes. And I want these holes to go all the way through this piece of wood. But I don't like over extruding like this, extruding too far. So I'm going to come to extent type, click on distance, and tell it to go all the way through. So it stops when it hits that other edge, and click OK. Awesome. I'm going to flip back over to the other side, hit the home view actually, and let's turn some stuff back on. So let's see what body 4 is. Oh, my back wheel cover got unnamed. So I'm just going to double click on that real quick and call this the B wheel cover. Enter. And then I'm going to go ahead and turn on the front wheel cover. Oh yeah, that looks great. And then the outside panel. Oh, that looks perfect. Front bearing, back bearing cover. Wow, this all looks really good. And now I've got those 3 holes, the 2 screw mount holes, and then the 1 axle hole here for the motor. Awesome. All right, so I think that does it for now. I'm going to hit the home view here. And now we've got the inside panel fully modeled. Good job, everybody. Keep it up.